Welcome back. This is Multiple Brokerage Personalities. This is just a series where I go through my different accounts and kind of go over what investment strategies I have for the account, why I use it, what I do it with it, and just how I invest. And so this time is going to be something a little bit different. I'm a long-term investor. I like to say I'm a lazy investor or vanilla investor, where essentially that means I like index funds, I like dollar cost averaging, or actually I do a thing called retracement additions, where I will dollar cost average, but when I see a dip or a pullback, so if I see a S&P 500 go back by about 1%, I'm going to try to dump some extra money into it. And so for me, my swing trading is actually all done in what's called my SEP IRA. So my SEP IRA is a self-employed retirement savings account that I'm able to do because I get paid as a contract worker or a consultant for the local hospital. So in order for me to do cataract surgery in our surgery center, I need to have hospital privileges at a local hospital for admissions. I don't admit patients. I'm a cataract surgeon. I am literally the last person you want in a medical emergency on an air flight. I literally dress in a t-shirt and shorts and try to look like a scrub so that no one would ever suspect I'm a doctor. But honestly, the SEP IRA is a wonderful thing if you don't have an employer 401k. There are other options. You definitely should talk to your CPA about deciding which plan might be best for you. But if you're not doing retirement savings because you don't have access to one because you're self-employed, okay, you really should look into this. So for me, the SEP IRA, I can only contribute about 15% of the money that I make as a consultant. And so it's not a lot. Because of the minimum I can contribute, I don't really see it as a bad thing for me to kind of play around with it. It's not to say that I don't take my money serious. It's more to say that this is my special account that I do short-term trading or speculative investing or swing trading. And so for me, this is my fun account. This is where I play. This is where I have fun. This is how I stay engaged with investing. Honestly, a lot of what I do in all my other accounts with the majority of my money is set, forget, and it could take care of itself, okay? I could set up automated investing. I could just go ahead and never really check on it other than maybe quarterly, and I would probably do better in all honesty. Emotions get the best of you. They cause you to panic sell. It happens to me still. It's not fun. It also keeps me from trying not to pick too many stocks thinking that this is going to be the next Tesla or this is going to be the next thing that goes on this monster run like Moderna. And so for me, this swing trading account is great. It keeps my hands busy on a small amount of money so that the rest of my money can go uninterrupted by me. So with the SEP IRA, what I do is I simply put money in. This is an account that, because of the way it's set up, is funded with pre-tax money. So this means that I don't pay any taxes on this. It goes into the account, it grows, and then when I pull that money out, it's taxed at my income tax bracket. So think of it like a traditional IRA. Just the amount of money I can contribute is set based on how much money I make as an individual kind of self-employed worker. And so within the SEP IRA, I'm kind of doing my swing trading of late has been Moderna. So Moderna was trading with volatility of anywhere from plus or minus 5%. So I'd see it drop 5%. I would just throw money at it. And then I'd see it come back to break even and then go up another 5%. And I would just sell it off. And so I'd just be trying to capitalize on that 5 to 10% price movement. That's what swing trading is essentially about. You're just trying to trade over a short period of time, trying to go ahead and lock in some profits at that probably 6 to 8% mark. You don't want to be greedy. The longer you hold on to it, the longer you expose yourself to it potentially dropping back. By and large, these are going to be things that are a little bit more volatile. So they might be small market cap or things that have high jump up in price, but also likewise, it can jump back down. And you don't want to just leave your money in there and fall on your face and then see it drop minus 10%. But other things I'll do instead of swing trading is speculative investing. So I'll take a position on something that I think is going to be moving. And what I mean by that is carnival. So back when Florida was kind of getting into a kind of a pissing contest with the cruise industry and CDC, I went and thought that when they were going to hear the case that potentially we would just reopen, cruises. And so I went with Carnival and I invested it. I invested hoping that this case would be heard and then potentially lead to price movement up. In fact, it didn't. Then they started releasing more shares to raise capital, and I saw the stock price drop. So that sucked. But for me, I not only try to do a short-term speculative, I also try to build in something that I think is going to be good for the long term. So because of COVID, March 2020, everything dropped. We saw some things return faster. So technology, so F tech is one of the ones I'm big about, but Microsoft, Apple, and you'll see some of the other stuff within the top 10 holdings, that just kind of took off and made a lot of money for me. F discretionary, that was going to be kind of Tesla, made up a large part of it, but Amazon was the bulk. And if you remember 2020, Amazon and Tesla both crushed it. And so that one was a gold mine. But there were other things that were slower to return. So you had your airline industry, financial was a little bit slower to return. And those were things that kind of eventually in 2021 started to kind of rebound back up, get to right where their price points were, or maybe at a small percentage reduction of maybe their initial pre-pandemic price point. Carnival was not one of them. So I felt that there was still some upward momentum that could be found in the next year, maybe 2 years. So technically this is a long-term investment, but it's something that I think has a serious upside if I hold it for a year. And so I do it in my SEP IRA more for the protection with capital gains. So when I invest in an individual brokerage account, anytime I sell something at a short term, it's going to be at my income tax bracket, which is at a high tax bracket. It's not fun. So that's why all my individual brokerage accounts typically are going to be held for over a year. And I only pick things that I plan on holding for a year, because when I go to long-term capital gains tax, it ends up being 20%. And so for the SEP IRA, I really use that to try to also avoid capital gains tax on speculative long-term positions that I think are going to work out well. And so for me, Carnival, I think will work out well. Right now, it does not look pretty. I'm still in the red on it. It's not a lot of fun to look at it. I've really flirted with the idea of selling it off and just realizing it. But the downside to doing your speculative trading in a SEP IRA is that you cannot tax loss harvest. And so that's the other kind of benefit of having an individual brokerage account. You can potentially sell it off, realize a loss, and then take that money and move it into either something similar or different. That's up to you. But you don't want to take your money out of the market. And so you want to keep that money in and invested, but you can realize the tax loss, and that will save you some money when you file for taxes. And so there are pros and cons to swing trading in a SEP IRA, but this isn't unique to the SEP IRA. And so if you're a swing trader, you could do this in a Roth IRA, but you want to make sure you're doing well with swing trading, okay? If you are a bad swing trader, the Roth IRA is a very special account. That $6,000 is the maximum you can do for a year. You don't want to see that go up in smoke. And so I'd really just encourage you to look into a Roth IRA, maybe consider doing an allotment of that $6,000 as swing trading. So instead of doing full $6,000, maybe do $1,000 towards swing trading, the other $5,000 towards just dollar cost averaging into ETFs. That track that index funds like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. There are some great options there. And so that's what I'd recommend for those that are doing swing trading. Consider the Roth IRA, look into it. If you are self-employed, find a way to create yourself an employer, which is you, retirement savings account. So mine was a SEP IRA. I talked to my CPA. This is what they recommended. I didn't really want to look into all the other logistics of pros and cons, and so I just took their word for it. They're the ones that do my taxes. They also do the taxes for my practice, and so I trust them. They're a fairly large institution, and that's kind of what I'm paying them for. But by and large, that's my SEP IRA account. That's where I do my swing trading, my long-term speculative, and so that's it. Thank you for listening, and again, comments, give me some ideas. I'm going to run out pretty soon, probably in about 3 to 4 more episodes. But until then, we'll continue. The next one's going to be the individual brokerage account.